Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really jumping into something fascinating. We're using a very detailed source, basically a 5-hour podcast all about Lord Krishna's adversaries.
Right. A huge amount of material.
Exactly. So think of this as your fast track. We're boiling down those 5 hours to get the core insights, the key takeaways about who Krishna faced and why it matters.
Precisely. Our mission here is really to nail down, who were the major enemies, what actually happened, and maybe the most interesting part, what does it all mean symbolically? We want to give you that quick but still deep understanding.
Okay, cool. Let's dive in. The source starts, logically enough, with Krishna's childhood, Gokul and Vrindavan. And it's kind of wild, even as a baby, he's up against some serious threats. First up, Putana.
Putana. Yeah, what's immediately interesting is her disguise, right? She comes across as this loving, nurturing figure.
Like a mother figure.
Exactly. But her milk was poisoned, lethal intent hidden behind care. The source really digs into how Krishna, even as an infant, didn't just survive. He actually drew the life force right out of her.
Wow.
Yeah. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we see things or people that seem good on the surface but are actually, toxic underneath?
Totally. And the symbolism the source points out, destroying false motherhood, evil pretending to be love. That's powerful stuff right from the start.
Definitely sets a tone.
Then there's Shakadasura, the demon in a cart. Seems a bit random.
Well, yes and no. It's another case of danger hidden in the everyday. Just an ordinary cart, seemingly, but with a demon inside. And baby Krishna just, kicks it.
A little kick.
A little kick. Shatters the cart, destroys the demon. It speaks to maybe the vulnerability of childhood, but also this idea of, divine protection against hidden dangers.
Okay, makes sense. But the threats just kept rolling in, didn't they? Next is Trinavarta, the whirlwind demon.
Trinavarta. This one literally sweeps Krishna up into the sky.
Terrifying for a baby.
You'd think. But the source describes Krishna suddenly becoming incredibly heavy. So heavy that Trinavarta can't hold him and is crushed by the weight.
Huh. So what's the takeaway there? Pride.
Exactly. The podcast suggests it's about the destruction of pride and ego. Trinavarta tries to lift himself up, literally, carrying the divine, and it leads to his own downfall. A kind of cosmic weight of arrogance, maybe.
Interesting. Okay, whirlwind, then a crane. Bakasura.
Yeah, the crane demon. Tried to swallow Krishna whole.
Seriously.
Seriously. And the source vividly describes Krishna forcing the beak open and tearing it apart. The symbolism highlighted here is hypocrisy, false piety.
Because cranes can look serene, meditative.
Precisely. Looks holy, acts deadly. A stark warning about judging by appearances.
It's like a nonstop assault.
Yeah.
Then Agasura, the serpent demon, swallowing Krishna and his friends. That sounds like game over.
It does seem pretty final, yeah. Agasura takes the form of this enormous snake, big enough to swallow the whole group. It's seen as representing, death itself. Or maybe deep sin.
So how did they get out?
Krishna expands. He grows so large inside the serpent that he just bursts out.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a really potent image. Triumph over that ultimate darkness, Light and life winning out.
Okay, but not all of them ended in death, right? You mentioned Kaliya, the serpent in the river.
Kaliya, good point.
Yeah.
That one's different. Krishna doesn't kill Kaliya.
He dances on his heads, wasn't it?
That's the iconic image, yes. He dances on Kaliya's many heads, subduing him, forcing him to leave the Yamuna River, which purifies the water for everyone.
So it's about taming, not destroying.
Exactly. The source interprets this as mastering our inner venom, the toxic parts of our ego, our anger, jealousy, bringing them under control instead of just trying to obliterate them. It's a subtle but really important idea. Control, not annihilation.
Right. Okay. Moving through the list, the Narakasura, the donkey demon.
The Narakasura, yeah, in the Talavana forest. The source we looked at actually points out that Balarama, Krishna's brother, is the one who kills him. But Krishna's there.
Team effort then.
Kinda. Narakasura, the stubborn donkey guarding the fruit groves, is seen as representing, ignorance. Or maybe stubbornness that keeps you from enjoying life's sweetness.
Gotcha. And Balarama also dealt with Pralambasura, the one disguised as a cowherd.
Right. Another imposter. Pralambasura tries to carry Balarama off during a game, but Balarama crushes him. Again, the source notes Krishna's presence, maybe more in a supportive role, shows the brothers working together.
Deception seems like a running theme here. Vyomasura, too, abducting kids.
Yeah, Vyomasura disguised himself as a cowherd boy and started hiding the other kids in caves, pretending it was a game.
Creepy.
Very. Krishna figures it out, exposing him and defeats him, symbolizing, well, truth winning out over that kind of sneaky treachery.
Okay. Then Arista, the bull demon. Sounds more straightforward.
It seems like it. A direct charge. The source frames Arisha's defeat by Krishna as overcoming pride that pretends to be righteous. Which is a dangerous kind, right? Thinking you're righteously angry or proud.
Definitely. And the last one in this early batch, Keshi, the horse demon. The description of his defeat is intense.
It really is. The source says Krishna basically thrusts his arm down Keshi's throat and makes it expand until the daman just bursts.
Yikes.
Yeah, pretty graphic. But it powerfully symbolizes the complete destruction of, like, untamed arrogance. So even as a kid, he's dealing with the whole spectrum of negativity.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so he grows up, moves to Mathura. Things must shift gears then.
Absolutely. The challenges become maybe more political, more about established power. First big encounter in Mathura, Kuvalayapita.
The elephant at Kamsa's arena.
Right. A massive, powerful war elephant sent to crush him right at the entrance. But Krishna overcomes it and famously uses its own tusks as weapons afterwards.
Turning the obstacle into the tool. Nice.
Exactly. A very physical representation of that idea.
Then inside the arena, the wrestlers.
Yeah.
Chanura and Mustika.
Kamsa's champions. His muscle. A public test of strength and combat skill. The source highlights how Krishna and Balarama defeating them was a huge blow to Kamsa's authority right in front of everyone.
Which brings us to Kamsa himself, the big boss. His own uncle.
The tyrant king. This is the climax in Mathura. Kamsa represents Adharma, unrighteousness, cosmic imbalance, everything wrong. Krishna confronting him, pulling him down from his throne, and ending his reign. It's the pivotal moment, the fall of tyranny.
Huge. But defeating Kamsa didn't end all the problems, did it? What about Jarasandha? He sounds like he kept coming back.
Oh, Jarasandha was relentless, a major recurring threat. The source mentions Krishna beating him something like 17 times.
17? Wow.
Yeah. But interestingly, Krishna doesn't deliver the final blow himself. He eventually arranges for Bhima, one of the Pandavas, to defeat Jarasandha in a wrestling match. It shows Krishna as a strategist, too, using alliances.
Smart. And then there was Kalayavana, the invader.
Kalayava.
Yeah, a powerful warrior, immune to Yadava weapons, apparently. So Krishna used his brains, not brute force.
He led Kalayavana into a dark cave. Inside, a king named Muchukunda had been sleeping for centuries, blessed with a gaze that would incinerate anyone who woke him.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. Kalayavana mistakes the sleeping king for Krishna, wakes him up, and poof, reduced to ashes. Clever, right? Wisdom over might.
Definitely clever.
Yeah.
Okay, so after Mathura, Krishna establishes his own kingdom, Dwaraka. Becomes a king. New role, new enemies.
New role. And yeah, different kinds of adversaries, like Narakasura, also called Bhamasura,
What was his deal?
a really nasty demon king.
Hey.
The source says he imprisoned, wait for it, 16,100 princesses.
16,000.
And 100, yeah,
Oh.
an enormous number. Krishna defeats him, frees all the princesses, and then to restore their honor, he marries them all. It's a major act of protection, upholding Dharma.
Wow, okay. Then Shalva with the flying city. Sounds like sci-fi.
It really does. Shalva attacks Dwaraka with this incredible flying city, Sauba, apparently filled with illusions and powerful weapons. The podcast described a pretty epic battle.
And Krishna.
Krishna ultimately destroys both Shalva and his magical high-tech city. Symbolically, it's like truth and reality, destroying illusion and aggression, even technologically advanced aggression.
Then there's the guy who pretended to be Krishna, Pandraka Vasudeva. That takes some nerve.
Right, incredible audacity. He apparently dressed like Krishna, carried fake weapons like Krishna's. Total imposter syndrome, but like projected outwards.
How did that end?
Not well for Pandraka. The source says Krishna dealt with that pretty swiftly. Siddharshana, chakra, decapitation, a clear message against that kind of massive ego and falsehood.
Makes sense. And Dadavakra, an ally of Shishupala, so like revenge.
Seems like it. After Krishna deals with Shishupala, we'll get to him, Dantavakra comes seeking vengeance. The source mentions fierce mace combat between them.
And Krishna wins again.
Krishna wins again. Another loose end tied up, another challenge to righteousness met.
Okay, so Shishupala himself, you said he was a constant problem.
Oh, yeah. Shishupala was Krishna's cousin, actually, but filled with hatred, constantly insulting him, abusing him verbally, questioning his divinity.
And Krishna just took it.
For a long time, yes. He'd promised Shishupala's mother he would forgive 100 offenses. But during a very important ceremony, Yudhishthira's Rajasuya Yajna, Shishupala just wouldn't stop. He hits offense number 101.
And that was it.
That was the limit. Sutrashana Chakra again, beheaded in front of the whole assembly, shows divine patience but also decisive action when lines are irrevocably crossed.
Intense. The source also mentioned Ekalavya, but noted it's not in all versions.
Right. That's important. Some regional accounts apparently have Ekalavya opposing Krishna, maybe during Rukmini's Swayamvar, and being killed, but it's not part of the, let's say, mainstream Mahabharata or Bhagavata Purana story. Shows how these narratives can vary.
Good to know. Okay, moving away from direct fights, Satyajit and the Syamantaka gem. How does that fit?
It's indirect, yeah. Satyajit owned this incredible gem. He wrongly accused Krishna of stealing it at one point. Later, Satyajit is murdered by someone else for the gem. Krishna then goes on this quest, finds the real killer, recovers the gem, and clears his own name.
So it's about justice, upholding truth.
Exactly. Shows Krishna's role in maintaining order and dharma, even when he's not the one being directly attacked. But his reputation and the truth are at stake.
Then Shambhara, who kidnapped Krishna's son, Pradyumna. That sounds personal.
Very personal. Shambhara steals the infant Pradyumna. But Pradyumna survives, grows up, and eventually, as the source details, finds and defeats Shambhara himself, fulfilling a prophecy. It shows the fight against evil continuing through generations.
Right. And finally, the source mentions the Yadava civil war, his own clan destroying itself. That's heavy.
Incredibly tragic. Not external enemies this time, but internal strife, drunkenness, fighting amongst themselves. Krishna witnesses the self-destruction of his own people. It's presented as part of a larger cosmic cycle, the winding down of an era.
So even he couldn't stop everything.
It seems part of the divine plan, in a way, highlighting the impermanence of even the most powerful dynasties and the inevitable cycles of creation and destruction.
Okay, this brings us to something the source really stresses. The spiritual meanings behind all this. It's not just battles, is it?
Not at all. That's maybe the core message from the source material. Each enemy symbolizes something internal, Putana. False love or toxic nurturing.
Trinavarta. Ego, arrogance.
Right. Agasura, death, sin, maybe ignorance. The podcast spent a lot of time unpacking how these external demons really represent our internal demons.
Our own struggles, like lust, pride, greed,
Yeah.
jealousy, all that stuff.
Exactly. The source presents Krishna's life as almost an allegory for the spiritual path. Confronting these asuras outside is like confronting the negativity inside ourselves.
So by understanding how he dealt with them, we get clues about dealing with ourselves.
That's the idea. Recognizing those patterns, deception, arrogance, ignorance, greed within ourselves, and finding the wisdom or the strength, like Krishna did, to overcome them, or at least manage them, like with Kaliya.
So how does this ancient stuff help us now in, 2024? The source talked about modern relevance, too.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really practical. The suggestion is that Krishna's response is how he handled fear, injustice, strategic challenges, imposters, offer models for us.
Models for what? Like dealing with stress?
Could be stress, yeah. Or developing emotional intelligence, figuring out leadership challenges, dealing with, toxic people or situations, confronting our own pride or insecurity.
So it's like a blueprint, maybe the source used that word, a blueprint for a more balanced, conscious life.
I like that. Blueprint. It's not just mythology stuck in the past. It's presented as living wisdom, applicable whether you're facing, a difficult boss or a major life crisis or just trying to be a better person day to day.
That makes sense. Using these timeless principles, courage, wisdom, strategy, sticking to what's right.
Exactly. Those things don't really go out of style, do they?
It's not. Okay, so wrapping up. The source had some final interesting points. The lesser-known legend.
Yes, the story of Jara the hunter. It's how Krishna's time on Earth ends. Jara mistakes Krishna's foot for a deer and shoots him with an arrow. Unknowingly, yeah. And Krishna accepts it. It's portrayed as the chosen moment for his departure, showing that even the divine embodiment submits to the larger cosmic laws and cycles. It's a powerful lesson in acceptance, maybe.
Wow. Acceptance of the inevitable. So overall, the source paints this picture of Krishna as, incredibly complex.
Totally. Playful and profound, divine but somehow relatable, destroyer of evil, but also this uplifter of the human spirit.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. And the encouragement seems to be, look at your own challenges, your own inner demons. Can you face them with some of that wisdom? Maybe even, as the source put it, a bit of divine playfulness.
Yeah.
Not getting bogged down, but finding a lighter, more skillful way through.
Divine playfulness. I like
Yeah.
that. So a final thought for everyone listening, maybe building on that, thinking about all this symbolism, what inner enemies, what personal challenges feel most relevant for you to confront right now in your own life? Something to definitely chew on.